address the PTA staff at the planning committee we had here a couple weeks ago. That's why they're so relieved. Can we do it without the microphone? All right.
We'll try this one. Try that.
Okay, that sounds much better. Thank you for that. We like having a microphone because Matt will record this and you can catch it online. So if you have some friends who weren't able to make it, we'll be able to give you the link so they can see that. But again, thanks so much for coming. What a great crowd. I'm thrilled to have Tommie Herell here with us today. We were talking at a bunch of the other day just before we went up, accepted another great award, which we're pretty excited about. But Tommie, most of you know Tommie. Most of you heard of what's going on in his life. I just said, I want to hear what is happening there, just the story where God has brought you. Some of the kind of so I'll pray and then still no point. Let's pray. God, thanks for this time together today. I pray you just speak to us, and we thank you for Tommie being here, and pray continued blessings on him and his life. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you everybody for allowing me to share my message. I know any of you set the trenches with me guys 12 plus years in oil and gas. Kind of started out on the association side for the back then was the OIPA, Oklahoma Petroleum Association. Through that, had a guy named John Smith. Led me into my second half of my career, which was mainly on the water side, Select Energy Services. When I started, we had 125 employees. Within 9 months, we bought 2,600 companies, grew to 5,000 employees. Literally I did that for 10 years. At the time, Select 44A public. Me personally didn't belong to a public company. I transitioned out, went to work with a local veteran, oil gas guy, David Norman, worked in his office. Years running a couple of investments, mainly around the water side as well. And that kind of gets into my story. So, beginning as part of COVID, things shutting down, price of oil was $35. I decided to jump out, start a company with a couple other guys. So I don't know if that's smart. Just dumb enough to think we could do it. So we went out, we started raising money. Parallel path of private equity and family office, and ended up with a number of small family offices. Great investors, great partners. We were on track to close on a couple of solar disposal projects. Got to that point, and this kind of gets where the story starts. So I have a little more background on my faith and before I get into the story, but you know, I'm not a perfect follower. I struggle every day in my walk. It's a regular guy. Claim to be a preacher or a perfect faith, but I know that I'm always consistent in my walk. Church, pretty much every weekend. Every Friday. That's a huge benefit for me. You're with regular guys in the community. And then, you know, myself. I help. That's a little bit about my I do every day to go through a fostering person, steward to generation. Well, but I know there's always more. So tragedy, strikes. There's no limit to who can experience it. Sooner or later, everybody's going to be faced with sadness, heartache, and the difficulties that are associated with sudden traumatic events. During the last few years, it seems like it's happened more and more. COVID or job loss, addiction, alcohol, takes that more. For instance, wife started counseling service and woman about the time of COVID. Kids, just amazing. They come in all shapes and sizes, families, individuals, cities, nations. Last week, Sooner Nation faced have faith, thank God. Wonderful coach and a good leader in our first Stan Paul. It's always had. So that's a dramatic event. I'll just laugh about it. But in moments of tragedy, that's blessed to turn to God. I turn to Him for comfort and strength. I'm going to read first Deuteronomy 31:6. It's one of my favorite verses that I get down or when I'm struggling with something, I read it. And I'll read it. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear nor be afraid. For the Lord your God is the one that goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. That's pretty powerful. That's the way like that. You're down. Big part of every time like this. So my journey was probably one of the darkest valleys that I've ever been through. Projects that literally I signed my, or I took the vaccine. We were signing it, let's say, for a conference this week. So, and first of all, this is not a vaccine, non-vax conversation. I'm a guy that probably the vaccine's probably going to get us out of this mess. Don't take this. I was one for so see Thursday, March 30th, Peloton guys. So work out, body work out, go to bed, wake up, next day I go to work. And it's funny, a couple of my friends have just taken the vaccine. They were, of course, they were having effects of the vaccine that a lot of people have, flu-like temperatures, headaches, and I kind of laugh. I'm going to get mine. Pray for me. And So that Friday, I had a routine doctor's appointment anyways. They had mentioned that they were starting to get vaccines. So me, my wife had already had it, the rest of my family. I said, well, I think it's probably time. So I set the appointment up and go and take it, go home. Seemed like a normal thing. I really didn't have any type of headache or flu-like symptoms. But that night, I had sharp pain from one side of my shoulder to the other. It was weird. It wasn't like a normal ache. I would reach over to the right side. It felt like somebody stabbed me in the other shoulder. And I thought, yeah, that's weird. I couldn't sleep. I laid on my back. I just had this like weird sensation of pain. So that next morning I got up. Didn't think about it. Thought, man, I could use some nerve working out. September. That was Friday. Saturday, my fingers went numb and my toes went numb, lost sensation. And it was probably the weirdest feeling I've ever had. I remember taking a block of cheese out of the refrigerator and it was lukewarm. And I told my wife, I said, I think our refrigerator messed up with some cheese. She grabs, no, it's not. And, man, I'm really pinched nerve. It's got, bad nerve pain all over. And so I lived through the weekend. That was Thursday, Sunday, church. My legs were weaker. I kind of still felt like, but at that point I still felt like it was something tied to pinched nerve working out. So Monday, I went to the chiropractor. He took X-rays. He said, "Man, I'm not seeing anything pinched, but got a lot of tension up in your back." So he adjusted it. I went about my day, but every day, my legs got weak. The sensations started really noticeable. By Wednesday, I had 2 meetings that morning, and stumbling every time I had to walk, I had to hold on to something, and I'm a procrastinator. Like, well, I'll get a doctor, get a shot steroid, set out. I said something like that. So, but I'm busy. That evening, fundraiser for James Frankfurt promo. So I'm there, walking around talking to everybody. I fell 3 times during that fundraiser, to the point where we're telling me I need to go to the hospital. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, I know. So drove home, had to get my little girl down. I had a 2-year-old named Harper, and I'm a big part of putting her down. So I tell Sean on the way home, I said, hey, I'm falling a lot. It's starting to notice. They all said it was hospital. I said, I probably need to call Dr. Dyer to see me. She goes, no, I think you need to call her. I said, no. I said, we've got to put Harper down. I've got a ton of stuff for us to week. I'll get her to see him. She goes, no, you need to call him right now. He was my next door neighbor growing up, so I had no problem calling on my cell phone. 8 o'clock at night, I called him up and said, Dr. Dyer, I said, I've fallen 3 or 4 times, and there's something not right. He said, took the vaccine on Thursday. Yeah, he said, there's something not right. You need to go. Right. So I drove myself to the yard. Get out. At that point, my whole face was paralyzed. Halfway crawling into the yard. They're like, what's going on? I have no idea. But I can't walk. Can't feel my hands. There's something wrong. Only different I've done is I took the vaccine on Thursday, and it flipped a switch with the yard was packed. So I was expecting to sit there wait. Rushed me back to the vaccine, and this is at 10 o'clock by this time. They're calling in neurologists. I'm sure that they don't have that at 10 o'clock. Didn't have some dramatic event based on it. But, so they started running tests. They ran an MRI and set me up for a spinal tap. I'm like, never been in the hospital. Talking about spinal taps or anything like that. So it's very difficult for me to understand. And my wife's at home with our little 2-year-old. Text her, they're going to run an MRI, spinal tap. So they do the first MRI at the HealthPlex, which is after the fact. The HealthPlex in Norman is really not geared for neurology. And so the people over there, the technicians, I don't know if that was the experts of the 2 hospitals. First MRI came back with what they called an artifact on the spinal, which I don't know anything about. So texting Sean and I said, I don't think MRI showed an artifact on my spinal cord. They're gonna rerun some tests. She goes, that's the tumor on the spinal. Okay. So freak out modes start at this point, but I'm still like, when am I going home? And they're like, you're not going home. We don't know what's wrong with you, but you're not going home. We got to figure this out. And so they decided to ship me over to the Porter campus, and they shipped me by ambulance. That was the first time I ever been in an ambulance, and so I don't know if it was the drugs that they put me on, or if it's just my wittiness that I told the guy that I've never been in an ambulance. Can we hit the lights and take the long route? But so they get me out, they run another MRI. It's clear. No artifact ended up being in the spot. And so that did not give me any understanding of what was really wrong. And so they ran the spinal tap at work. Well, evidently, in the reaction that I had, it's diagnosed as Guillain-Barré, rare autoimmune disease that's caused by a extreme viral infection. It's a lot of cases, a lot of vaccines. Generally, most of them are very mild. You'll have weakness in your legs, and it'll take 6 or 7 months before you realize that you have something. And the only way you diagnose it is through a spinal tap. And if I hadn't been as bad as I was, they probably would not have went spinal tap. So, they ran that, they diagnosed me with young Ray. And at this point, I'm paralyzed from the neck down. Couldn't lift anything, couldn't, hold anything up, definitely couldn't walk. It impacted my body. Evidently, it's a antibody in your system that is triggered. Your antibodies fight that, those antibodies may attach to your nerve endings and start eating away. So you're getting hit by your antibodies are fighting that, and that's fighting the nervous system. So it is just spread through my body. Doctor said if I'd have waited 4 days, I'd have been on the ventilator. And if I'd have got on a ventilator, I would not have gotten IVIG, which was 10 days worth of this wicked stuff that's, a lot like chemo type of treatment that flushes out all your antibodies. They got to flush it out and they put you through to let your new antibodies and cells start fixing itself. So that was their 10-day. Let's give them IVIG and let's see how that reacts, how the body reacts. So I spent 15 days in ICU. I can tell you to that, and it's probably the drugs that I was on, but I don't remember a single bit after the ambulance to getting discharged from ICU. After day 15, they got me off the IVIG infusion, and it's at the point that I am now good enough care not to be in intensive care. So they sit down with my wife and myself, start talking about the next phase. They said, we have a rehabilitation facility in our hospital that we recommend that I go into, and that could be 5 days, 10 days. They weren't sure how I'm back to physical therapy and my nervous system remyelinating and regenerating, starting to. So, and Herells are emotional, so if I get emotional, just give me a second. So I get transitioned into a rehabilitation facility in the hospital. If I can pour down, I go to the hospital. And the first day I'm sitting there with HEMA doctors, physical therapists, and like a caseworker. And they've all got their notepads out and they start talking about reality of what I have and the road I'm going to go down. And so the question they ask me is, well, what is my goal? And I'm bawling at this point. I'm like, I have no idea where to go, what to do. But for the last day and a half, all I could think about was 13 steps. And most people that I tell this to are like, okay, what's, and the doctor was the same thing. What's step 1? What's step 2? What's step 3? I said, no. I've counted in my head how many steps it took to get upstairs to put my little girl down. And at that point, that's all I ever cared about. I didn't care about the new business I started. I didn't care about driving. I didn't care about playing golf. At that point, that is all I cared about. was getting upstairs to put my little girl. And so, got a plan. We started rehab. I was in rehab for 20 days, and they had my back. I started taking steps. I remember first time I took 50 steps, and at this point it's on a walker, strapped down with the therapist behind me, and it was difficult. And the first 15 steps was a nightmare, and it was so many thoughts going through my head of, will I ever walk? How can I understand me? You know, I have a big personality, and I'm not an engineer. I'm not a geologist. I have just who I am. If I couldn't do that, what does that mean? What's my next me? And I was struggling. Man, I was struggling at this point. Laughing and smiling every time somebody came in the room, but it was very, 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 very. Fast forward to 3 months. I'm just now getting off the walker. But as part of the journey, I was no longer couldn't hide behind the hospital door. Visitation hours. I was out in the open by myself. I had to crawl out of bed every day, literally roll out of bed. I had to pull myself off the ground every day to get up. And it was a big adjustment. I was started outpatient rehab at this point. I was committed to get better, but mentally, I was wrecked. I was mad. I was angry at life. Every time you turn on TV, you saw nothing but COVID, nothing but vaccine, everything on both sides. And I was pissed off. And I was mad at God. That's a scary thing to say out loud. And I was mad at him. What did I do to deserve this? And all I could do is talk to him. And you know, when you go back and you start looking at scriptures and things that kind of describe being mad at God, it's okay. It talks about it. It's okay to be mad at him. Be open about it. Talk through. I'm here. And that's the way I took it. And one of the scriptures that I pulled out that kind of that speaks towards that, John 16:33. I have told you these things so that in me you have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. That spoke pretty hard to me. That I'm gonna face traumatic events. This isn't the first time I've been mad at God. lost my dad when I was 16. That was a tough thing. I lost my cousin, who was my best friend, and my uncle 2 years ago to cancer within 3 months. I was pissed off at him then, but I always turned to him. And it didn't matter what the outcome was. He had always picked me up, and I always shined on the sun. And that's where we shine today and going forward. But at that 3-month mark, I was so mad at it. I just hit my knees. I don't know if I fell down and just couldn't get up, but I hit my knees and I wept down. I said, God, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. It is all on you. I am putting it all on you. Whatever that outcome is, I did not care. I'm committed to you. If it means that I have to drag around this stupid cane the rest of my life, or I have to wear these dumb glasses, I'm committed. And when I did that, the light came there. Sits there. I got up. Man, it wasn't weeks later. I started going back to the office. Working in the family. Things started falling in place. Deals fell through at work, but other deals came forward. Things just started to gear. The wheels greased and started moving. And that's kind of getting to where I'm at now. At that, 7, 8 month mark. Life is starting to shine. And it's amazing because a lot of people better. And it's hard every my wife's pretty good. She sent me a lot of to-do lists and sometimes some angry text messages. She sent me a lot of inspirational, just little thoughts. And she sent me this not long ago. It hit me pretty hard. And it's what if everything you're going through is preparing you for what I asked. And that is strong. I know that probably didn't like it. How much time it's telling me this world's crazy. So I that's my story as in a nutshell as far as what I went through. I wanted to leave with a 4 thoughts, lessons that I through that story, through my story that I've taken from there and feel like we could share with you guys. The first one, lean on others for compassion. 2 Corinthians 1:3-5. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, Father of many and God of all comfort. Comforts us in tribulations, that we may be able to comfort those who are in trouble, which we ourselves are comforted by. That's our message. Actually, I had breakfast with the guy in the industry, one of his employees. He said, Dad, talking about it. I'd already had so during these times, whether it's death, job loss, tragedies of all kinds, turn to God, church family, our friends, mentors, men's group. Do it. If I did not have those guys, probably would have stopped. I was spiraling. Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. That speaks well to me and for mentor relationships, such as this group. It's I lean on spiritual and pick me up statements. Guy in my mentor sends out a message every morning. It's amazing how many times that message speaks to me that day. Something. So, lean on others with compassion. So, during these low times, I think we have people much about it. Second, live fearlessly. We must face our tragedies head on, graciously and without fear. That's what we're doing every day. Face everything. Face without fear. Every time you turn on TV, you're on. Crawl on your bed, put your cover over your head, stop your mouth. So that's fearless. And the passage I pulled out of that is Isaiah 41:13. I am the Lord your God who upholds the right hand. He says to you, do not fear, I will help you. Be fearless doesn't mean you have to go through the person. What we know is put our trust in God. Cure you until you're strong enough to stand on. That's what he did every day. Scary. I couldn't go. Now I can be fearless that I'm one day going to fall back. primitively after us. Remember, God's in control. The moment when you realize this and let go, get out of the way, things seem to start falling. It begins to build. That moment of 3 months whenever I hit my knee, started. As soon as I gave up control and let that go, and started realizing that whatever that is, I want. Things started falling into place. Strength came back. My vision and path became clear. He didn't cure me, but he showed me the path to total confidence in my life. Staying close, staying focused, being patient and fearless, everything. I will make my recovery as he planned. Plan is a winner. The fourth passage, in the last passage, I'll share is discover the good and choose joy. Wake up every day and choose joy. You only get one day. That one day. Don't waste it. Don't waste it on being mad at it, but mad at your wife, mad at your job. Just choose joy. I read a book last year called Make Your Bed. I don't know if you guys read it. I would suggest it. It is a powerful. It was written by Admiral McCready, who was a Navy SEAL commander, SEAL Team 6. He spoke at University of Texas commencement speech. I probably wouldn't have popped up on my feed. The key point in the book is to make your bed every day. Do that if you accomplish at least one thing that. And man, it's funny. I do it every day. I get up and make my bed, whether I'm traveling in a hotel room or at my house. I make it every day. And I remember when I was stuck in the hospital and nowhere to go, I was able to accomplish at least one thing that. And that mindset picked me up and made me feel like I could do something. So those are the 4 key lessons I want to leave you with. The Bible doesn't teach us that we won't have burdens. It actually tells us that we will be persecuted, their trials, and wage war with darkness. The question is, if we're going to experience that hard stuff, it's how we respond. So I hope these lessons, story gave us a little bit of hope during these hard times. I'm not done yet. He's not done yet. I'll fight every day. I'm going to fight with him. So I'm going to leave you with that, my favorite scripture that I read earlier, Deuteronomy 31:16. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear. Do not be afraid. For the Lord your God is the one that goes with you. Will not leave you nor forsake you. That leaves you with something. I appreciate everybody being here and sharing. This is the first time I've told my story. Hopefully it's not the last time. Now it's a burden off my chest to be able to share it with you guys. So I appreciate everybody coming in today. Appreciate Jeff and everybody listening up. for allowing me to be here. Happy to talk to anybody after. And if you don't have a men's group, call me. I would be honored to have you.
Several thoughts while you're talking. One is to speak my wife, just like you talked about. Every storm is a school, every trial is a test, every experience is an education, and every difficulty is opportunity. So, and I want to know how we can pray for you.
Pray for healing, pray for family, pray for race, and pray for her.
I've heard a question along those lines, just the law and order and truth and justice. I mean, y'all should be able to agree.
Yes.
Let me, one of the things that's so cool, I want to read this to you, just from my devotional this morning, which my grandmother it's from Daniel. It says, Daniel's prayer was a free-flowing outpouring of his heart to God. He was conscious throughout of God's greatness and mercy and his own unworthiness. But he was also confident of God's ability to answer his prayer. Here's what he's talking about. God longs for you to talk to him about what is on your heart. You don't need to hold back or censor what you talk to him about or try to come across as something you are not. He already knows everything about you. He wants to hear it from you and talk it through with yourself with God. It's exactly when you come to him and say, mad at you, I mean, just come on. So, and then one other prayer is just, and I want to pray for you before we leave. Guys, thank you for coming today. What a great lunch. So my prayer for you is Psalm 40. Psalm 40 says, I waited patiently for the Lord, turned to me and heard my cry, lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand, steadied me as I walked home. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in him. So that's my prayer for you. Steady you. And we just close with prayer. God, thank you for this lunch. Thank you for how you're working in Tommie's life and the message that he shared with us today. We do pray for him for continued healing and strength, for you to steady him as he walks along, for the new song that you put in his mouth, and that many would hear that and want to know more about you. And thank you that we can have that relationship with you every day. Help us to turn to you. Thank you for friends like God. Great blessing on him and his life and his family. Thanks, Tommy. Everybody, thank you for coming. I have